Hello, everyone. This is Misha Houston, and I'm here to do my review for Game of Thrones. Tonight's episode is entitled The Spoils of War, and I thought it was a good episode, especially at the end, but there were a few places in the episode that kind of had me scratching my head. I was a little, thrown off by a few scenes, and one of the scenes felt kind of fillerish. But overall, it was a good episode and I enjoyed it and I did feel entertained by it. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. The first group of people we go to is Jaime, Bronn, the Tarleys, and the Lannister army. Jaime opens up the gold caravan as Bronn talks to him. Jaime gives Bronn a huge bag of gold, taken, from the siege at Highgarden. Bronn asks Jaime what's wrong with him. You have just taken the greatest prize in the world. Did the Queen of Thorns give you a little prick on your balls before her death? Jaime says that he'll keep his confessions to the High Septon. Bronn reminds Jaime that there is no more High Septon. And Bronn also wonders about his payment. He was promised the castle, and he's still waiting for his payment. Jaime says that's a lot of money that he just paid him. But Bronn said it's not the castle that you promised. Bronn suggests that maybe he should have Highgarden as his castle and his seat. But Jaime says that we're in the middle of a war and you may lose your castle, just as quickly as you gained it. Jaime says that the riches that he's taken from Highgarden are going directly to the Iron Bank. Bronn says that Lannisters do pay their debts, but not to me. Jaime says Bronn was nothing before he came in contact with the Lannisters, and now he's Sir Bronn of the Blackwater, and now he has a plump bag of gold, and yet he's still complaining. Jaime assures Bronn that when the war is won, he'll have the pick of any castle that he wants without anyone trying to take it away from him. Bronn doesn't believe that Cersei's reign will be, as quiet and peaceful as Jaime thinks. But Jaime, believes it anyway. Just then the Tarleys ride up, saying that the granaries are being emptied and loaded into wagons, and the newest harvest is being collected. Jaime orders Bronn to help the Tarleys gather the harvest. Bronn, doesn't want to, but he eventually, you know, agrees to help the Tarleys. Bronn rides away with the Tarleys, and Jaime rides with his army. Now, the next two people we go to is Cersei and Tycho Nestoris, from a representative from the Iron Bank. Cersei is in the Red Keep talking to Tycho Nestoris. The Tycho is astounded that Cersei is willing to pay back the debt in one installment. But Cersei, assures him, saying that the money is on its way, that Jaime is overseeing the transportation of the money personally. The representative is pleased by this news, and he offers to help Cersei in her other endeavors. But Cersei says she appreciates that, but right now she's more concerned with holding on to Westeros. Tycho Nestoris tells her that the bank will assist her in expanding her armies and her navies as long as the gold arrives. I mean, he's only interested in the money, and I can't even blame the banker because they are so far in debt, it's not even funny. The next group of people we go to is Brandon, Peter Baelish, and Mira Reed. Brandon Stark is talking to Peter Baelish. He offers Bran the Valyrian steel dagger, saying that it was used in a murder attempt against his life. Baelish says that he would have stopped the dagger that killed his mother, but he wasn't there to protect her. But he says that he is here now and that he will be happy to protect her children. He says that anything that, he offers that anything that you can do for me, that I could do for you, just ask me and you'll receive it. Brandon wants to know who tried to kill him and who the dagger belonged to. Baelish says that he doesn't know, but that question started the War of the Five Kings, which is true. Baelish says that the dagger made you into who you are right now. It drove you from your home and into the wild. Apparently, he thinks that Brandon has seen things that most men wouldn't believe. Baelish says to go through all of that and to finally make it home, only to find that there is nothing but chaos. Then Brandon abruptly raises his head, looks directly into Baelish's eyes, and says, "Chaos is a ladder." Just then, Mira Reed comes in. Baelish bows his head and then he leaves, and leaves the two of them together to talk. Bran says that, "I know that you're leaving, Mira." Mira, she says she doesn't want to leave, but when the White Walkers come, she would rather be by her family's side. She said that she doesn't want to leave him, but she knows that he's safe as he's ever been here with his family in his family home. And she also says that she knows that he doesn't need her anymore. He says he does know that, and he also says thank you. She apparently gets offended by it. And then she tells him that, "I almost died for you. I risked my life for you, dragging you all the way here from the cold north all the way to your home. And Summer died for you, and Hodor died for you, and Jojen, her brother, died." And then she asked him, "Do you have anything to say for this?" But Bran says that he's not Brandon anymore. He remembers being Bran, but he remembers so many other things as well. And he's not the person that he once was. Then Mira realizes to her horror that Brandon, her friend, has died in that cave. And with that realization, she just leaves him there. I know it was a cold shot from Brandon, but he's actually right, in my opinion. It's just not, he's just not the same person he was. He's got so much going on inside of his head, and he can't possibly fathom who he is or what's going on with himself. So I think it was best for her that she left. The next group of people we go to is Arya, the Winterfell guards, and Sansa. Arya finally comes home, and the guards won't let her in the gate. They believe that Arya is dead, but we all know that she's still very much alive. Arya mentions Roderick and Maester Luwin and Jon Snow, the King of the North. They know nothing of Roderick and of Maester Luwin, and Jon Snow, they say, is hundreds of miles away. They refuse to let her in, but she tells them that, "I'm going to get in here anyway." She also says, and she asks them who is in charge of Winterfell. And then they say the lady of Winterfell. And then Arya tells them, "Well, tell my sister Sansa that I'm here." Eventually, they decide to let her in and they tell her to stay right here and they will bring Sansa Stark. Now, in Sansa's chambers, the two guards talk to her and they say, there's this girl outside that says that she knows you. She says that she is your sister. She brought up somebody named Lewin and someone named Roderick. And then at that moment, Sansa realizes that it's really her, that it's her sister Arya. Sansa then goes to the crypts where Arya is, where Arya is, and Arya is paying her respects to her father Ned Stark. And Sansa comes in. Arya asks her, "Do I have to call you Lady Stark now?" And then Sansa says, "Yes, you do." Then they smile at each other and they run to each other and they hug each other. Arya asks if Jon left you in charge, and Sansa says yes. They are both, anxious for Jon to return. Arya then asks, "Were you the one who killed Joffrey?" And Sansa says, "No, it was not me, but I wish that I had." Arya says, she starts to explain about her list, her list of people that she means to kill. And Joffrey was always the first person on the list. Sansa wants to know how she managed to get back to Winterfell, but Arya says it's just a long story. Sansa then agrees, saying that at least our stories aren't over yet. And then they hug each other one more time. Then Sansa tells Arya that Bran is also home. The next group of people we go to is Brandon, Arya, Sansa, Brienne, Podrick, and Peter Baelish. In the Godswood, Brandon sees Arya and they hug each other. Bran expected Arya to go to King's Landing to kill Cersei. Sansa says tells Arya that Brandon now has visions. He can see things that other people can't. Brandon then pulls out the Valyrian steel dagger. Arya asks, "Where did you get that dagger from?" And Brandon says that it was Littlefinger who gave it to him. Arya is surprised that Littlefinger is there, but Sansa says that he has recently declared for the Starks. Sansa wants to know why he would give Brandon a dagger. Brandon says that it doesn't really matter and that he really doesn't want it because it was a dagger that was meant to kill him. Brandon then gives the dagger over to Arya, saying that it's just wasted on a cripple. Sometime later, Podrick and Brienne are talking. Podrick says that Lady Catelyn will be proud of you because you kept your word and your vow. Brienne says that she did next to nothing. Then Podrick says, You're just being too hard on yourself, my lady." And then Brienne tells him that I'm not a lady, but then she also thanks him. As the Stark children are walking together through the courtyard, Littlefinger looks on. Now, I want to stop and talk about Peter Baelish for a minute. Back in the other scene, Brandon managed to tell Baelish that chaos is a ladder. Shouldn't it occur to Baelish that if he managed, to see that and to hear that and to tell him that, maybe he'll find out about all the other things that he has done. I don't know why he's still there. Sansa just gives him the cold shoulder. Jon threatened him. Arya is wondering what he's doing here, and Brandon, doesn't even look or talk to him. So what is he still doing there? If it was me, if it were me, then I would just disappear, take my army back to the Vale and go. I don't understand why he's here. It just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, Sansa is not going to be with him because she's, ashamed of him. She's angry with him and she's ashamed of him. So why would, he still be there? It's just no point of him being there now, at least in my opinion. But, the writers. The next group of people we go to is Danny, Masande, the Dothraki, John, and Davos. Daenerys is talking with Masande, and Masande hopes that the Unsullied will return soon. Masande then confesses to Danny that she laid with Grey Worm. Then John pops up and takes Danny and the rest of her company to the Dragon Glass Cave. In the caves, dragon glass is everywhere. And further in, there are mysterious cave paintings and writings on the walls of the caves. And John explains to Danny that they were created by the children of the forest. The cave paintings are mystical symbols, and they tell of the story of children and man working together to fight the White Walkers. Danny says she will help John and defend the North if he would bend the knee. John says his people will never accept a southern ruler after everything that they have suffered. Danny thinks that they will if John, convinces them, and he bends the knee, then they will too. And then she asks him, is your pride worth more to you than your survival? And that's a pretty good question. But I think that Danny should ask herself that question. What's more important to you, sitting on the Iron Throne and being queen, or your pride? I mean, what's more to you? What do you care for more? Just sitting on the throne? I mean, I don't know. I just really find Danny very arrogant and very uncaring and about anything that she doesn't approve of. I mean, these people, in my opinion, are trying to fight for their lands, and here she is trying to invade them and take them, and it just seems to me that Danny just doesn't sit right with me. She's becoming desperate, in my opinion. The next group of people we go to is Tyrion, Varys, Danny, John, Davos, and Missandei. Outside the caves, Tyrion and Varys come up and tell Danny that they have taken Casterly Rock. Danny thinks that this is a good thing, but we all know that this is a disaster. Danny is angry with Tyrion, thinking that his plans have lost her the seven kingdoms. The seven have lost not the seven kingdoms, but three of the seven kingdoms. Danny wants to send the dragons directly to the Red Keep. Danny, is desperate, and she knows she's losing. She's willing to risk her life, but Tyrion thinks that it is a foolish thing to do. She then turns to John for help. John doesn't want to get involved, but he does tell her this. If you start burning down everything with those dragons, then you are no better than what was going on, than the rulers before you. Which is true. But she's very desperate, as we can see. The next group of people we go to is Arya, Brienne, Sansa, Baelish, and Podrick. This, to me, even though it was very entertaining, was really nothing more than a filler scene. To me, they could have cut the whole thing out. It really, they could have put a better scene in, but besides this. Brienne and Podrick are practicing in the courtyard. Then Arya comes and challenges Brienne to a sword fight. As this is going on, Sansa and Baelish are talking, and then they come by and watch them. Arya and Brienne fight, and they both do very well. Brienne asks Arya, "Where did you learn to fight?" And Arya says, "No one taught me." Then Brienne looks up and sees Sansa and Baelish standing close to each other. Then Sansa abruptly leaves. Then Arya sees Baelish there, and then he bows his head, and then he walks away. Arya has this look on her face that she doesn't quite know what to make of Baelish just yet. So we'll have to see what happens. But if you read the spoilers, we all know what happened. The next group of people we go to is Jon, Missandei, Davos, Theon, the rest of his Ironborn, and the Dothraki. Davos asks Jon what he thinks of Daenerys. Jon then says that she has a good heart. Davos teases Jon about him staring at Daenerys, but Jon tells him that he doesn't have any time for that. Jon says that the White Walkers are coming. He says that he looked into the Night King's eyes and says that he needs to prepare for the coming battle. He knows that he doesn't have enough men to defend the North. He asks Davos, "How many men do we have? 10,000, maybe less?" Then they walk over to Missandei and then they start talking to each other. Missandei bolsters Dany to Jon, saying that she believes in her, that everyone that she brought across the narrow sea, believes in her. Not because she's the father of some king we didn't know, because we chose her for our leader. You know, and and I understand what they're saying, but that's not Dany's reasoning. Dany believes that she should be queen because not because anyone chose her, but because she is the last Targaryen. Dany is trying to get by on her name. That's her whole reasoning behind this. She's a Targaryen and she feels that she has a claim to the Iron Throne. Jon sees a Greyjoy ship sailing to the islands and they all go to the beach. The other Iron Islanders come to the beach with a rowboat. Theon is surprised to see Jon. Jon grabs him and says, "The only reason that you're still alive right now and that I'm not killing you is because you protected Sansa." After that altercation, Theon says that Euron has his sister and that they are looking for the Dragon Queen to come in and save, to save her sister from him. But Jon tells Theon that she is not here right now. Theon asks, "Then where did she go?" The last group we go to is Jaime, Bronn, the Lannister soldiers, the Tarleys, Daenerys, Drogon, and the Dothraki. This is the big battle scene of the night, and I must say before I start that I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was wonderful. Randall Tarley rides up to Jaime and Bronn saying that all of the gold has made it to King's Landing, which means that the Iron Bank will be paid their debt, paid the money, paid the debt and the money that was owed to them, and they are going to remain with the Lannisters and not Daenerys, which is very much a victory in and of itself. With Dany having no money, how is she going to feed the people? How is she going to win the war with no money? The Dothraki can only do so much, and if she wants to, take over, she's going to need money, she's going to need weapons, she's going to need soldiers. And now she has none of that. Tarly wants to get the rest of the wagons past the Blackwater Rush by nightfall. He thinks whipping the stragglers and the people that are lagging behind will speed up the process. But Jamie gives them, give them a warning first before you start beating on them, which is a very wise move. Then Dickon Tarly rides up. And being that it was his first battle, he didn't think that it would smell so bad. He also says that he knew some of the men that he fought. Jamie says it was Olena's fault because she chose to betray her queen and support the Targaryen girl. Then Bronn hears horses, hoofbeats of the horses, and it sounds like there is 1,000 of them, or maybe even more, coming directly towards them. Then Jamie, Dickon, and Randall Tarly form up their army. The Dothraki are coming on horseback, and they are screaming like banshees. Bronn tells Jamie to go back to King's Landing, but Jamie refuses to leave his men, thinking that, we can hold them off if we have to. Then Dany flies in on Drogon and starts to set some of the soldiers on fire. Then the Dothraki charges up to them and then just starts killing people. Some of the Dothraki jump off their horses and into the fray, while other Dothraki are archers and shoot arrows from their saddles. The Lannister archers then, start, shooting back as best they can. Then Dany and Drogo burn up the caravan train that was trying to leave the battlefield, and everything gets burned up on the caravan. Then Jamie lines up his archers and then tries to shoot at Drogo. They try to shoot at Drogon. Then Jamie orders, but they try to shoot at Drogon, but Drogon ends up burning them up too. Jamie then orders Bronn to fire the scorpion. Bronn doesn't want to, but Jamie says that he can't operate the scorpion with only one hand. Then Jamie joins the fray and starts killing a few Dothraki. One Dothraki almost kills Jamie, but Dickon almost, killed, Dickon Tarly, Randall Tarly's son, comes up from behind and kills the Dothraki. Then Bronn gets into it with another Dothraki. He throws the dagger at him, but it misses. Then the Dothraki cuts the leg out from under his horse. Bronn and his payment fall to the dirt, and he doesn't have time to pick it up and run. But Bronn gets up and runs anyway, and then pulls the sword from the dead and then just starts killing more Dothraki soldiers. He eventually makes it to the scorpion and kills the Dothraki that was chasing him. Then Bronn uncovers the scorpion and sets it up with another spear and then takes aim for the dragon. And he's saying as he's doing this, "Come on, where are you?" Dany and Drogon are flying somewhere in the air. As Tyrion watches from over the hill, he's standing on the hill and he watches, the chaos. The Dothraki beside him says that your people can't fight, which is true because they are just being annihilated out there. Jamie sees his army and being killed and being burned alive, and he is absolutely disgusted. And Tyrion sees it as well, and he is disgusted too. Some of the Lannister soldiers are trying to regroup, but Drogon burns them up like he's been doing pretty much the entire, the entire scene. Then Braun steps up with the scorpion and then he fires it, but it misses the dragon. Now this gets Danny and Drogon's attention. They come around for another pass, but before Drogon can spit the fire, Bronn fires the scorpion and a spear hits Drogon in the neck. Danny and Drogon are falling from the sky as Bronn is smiling. Drogon manages to get his bearings and he eventually burns up the scorpions. Burns up, the scorpion. As Drogon lands, Danny dismounts and tries to remove the spear from Drogon. Jamie then sees this and he sees this as an opportunity to try to kill Danny. Tyrion is watching this and he's watching Jamie and he's telling him, "No, don't do this, you idiot. Don't do this." Jamie grabs the spear and then charges at Danny. He is almost on Danny, almost at the point of killing her when Drogon sees and Drogon starts to spit the fire. At the last second, Bronn grabs Jamie from behind and grabs him and throws him into the water. As Jamie is in the water because of his heavy armor, he then starts to drown. And that is where the episode ends. Thank you very much for watching my video. The next episode will be entitled Eastwatch. If you like my video, make sure you hit that like button, you comment, you share, and you subscribe if you enjoy the video. And I definitely will be back next week for the next episode. I have two MVPs for tonight. My two MVPs are Jamie and Bronn. The reason why I chose Bronn is because even though he lost his money, he remained faithful to the Lannisters. And he also managed to, make a wound make a wound on Drogo, which not many people have done and lived. I've also chosen Jamie for my MVP because he didn't run out on his army when things got tough. He stayed in and he fought as best he could and led his army as best he could. And I really, really liked that mad dash toward Danny at the end. So because of that, I have named Jamie and Bronn my MVPs of the episode. As I said before, come back next week for my new video. And if you like the video, come back next week. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you.